I will read the proclamation from the governor, and from that point, I will turn it over to you and Ms. Burrow. So March 18th, 2020, Governor Ivey issued a proclamation authorizing the Birmingham Land Bank Board Administration, Birmingham Land Bank Administration Board to meet by telephone, video conference under certain circumstances. In accordance with the governor's proclamation, the meeting will be held by telephone and video conference through the Cisco WebEx platform. Okay, and the meeting link has been provided. So if we could start with a roll call, and I'll turn the meeting over to you and Ms. Burrow.
Okay.
Ms. Douglas. Ms. Douglas, you can do the roll call.
All right. Director Hannon.
Present.
Director Watson.
Present.
Director Hatcher. Director Hatcher. I believe I see her.
Present. I'm sorry, I was on mute.
That's no worries. Director Green. Director Green, we're doing roll call. I see you. Are you muted?
He's not muted. I think he's having technical difficulties. Yes, but
okay.
we can count him as present.
Okay, very good. He's doing what I've done. I think he's calling in as well. Director Burton.
Here.
Director Anderson. Anderson. And Director Clark. Okay, Dr. Hannon?
Yes,
I've completed the roll call.
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. And at this time, we will turn the meeting over to Ms. Burrow.
Okay. First, we would like to do, I'm sorry, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We would like to do an approval of the minutes for the April 8th, 2021 board meeting.
Can y'all hear me? This is Brad.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
One thing, I think there's an edit that needs to be made unless I'm not reading this correctly. But I think the quiet title one for 48212, it says resolution approving applications and authorizing board chair to execute agreement. And then, let's see, maybe I'm misreading this, but motion to amend, motion to approve, that's separate. Okay, never mind, I apologize. That's actually correct. Do we have anywhere though, the full votes for any of all these votes? Because I don't see full votes on here.
When you say full votes, Director Burton, what does that refer to?
everybody who was present, I guess, for each of the votes. So like who all voted yes or no or amended or did not vote at all for each one.
And reviewing the
It looks like
replay.
everybody
Yeah, go
passed
ahead.
everything unanimous. At least that's how it reads.
I don't, I don't think I was present at that meeting, but I think the top of the meeting minutes reflected that.
I know I
This
had
is
an
no,
internet connection part, so I know I wasn't present for one of the votes as well. So would we be able to this is simple. I guess, would it be possible for us to maybe amend this to say motion to approve with the amendment of listing out the full vote, roll call vote for each motion or for each vote?
God damn, man.
Let me, please, everyone, if you're not speaking, please put your phone on mute.
I guess, Rob, this is Brad. I'm a little confused. If all of the votes were unanimous, and if they weren't, then we definitely need to correct that. But the attendees that were present are listed at the top. So if there are specific ones that you did not vote for, maybe I don't know if Ms. Douglas has record of who voted specifically or not.
Well, I guess I thought we did because we do a roll call. Do we not do a roll call vote for every vote? But I just know that I'm listed as present, and I was for a majority of the meeting, but I missed the very end of the meeting due to internet connectivities. So I was just wondering if we could list that on. We can still approve the minutes today. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, could we just request an amendment to add the full vote count for each item?
Do we have record of that?
There is a recording that I can definitely go back and double check, and I can definitely add that if that's what the board wants to do.
I mean, I would appreciate that if that's okay. I apologize to ask for that additional labor.
No worries at all.
I appreciate it, and again, sorry for the additional labor. So do we need to make that as a new motion, or do we need to work with Brad first and then introduce that amendment?
I think we can vote to approve the minutes with the consideration of the pending changes, the additions to the vote call. Right. So I think we can go ahead and, Brad, if you will reintroduce the resolution.
Director Burton, do you want to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes as you would like them adjusted?
Absolutely. Sorry for the complications, y'all. I would motion to approve the minutes with an amendment to show the full vote count for each resolution passed.
Second. Okay. All right, so we'll do a vote for all of the members to accept this resolution 4821 for the board minutes to be accepted with appropriate amendments. So we'll do Ms. Burrell, if you will do the vote, or Ms. Douglas, whichever one is most appropriate.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. Dr. Hannon,
Aye.
Director Watson,
Aye.
Director Hatcher,
Aye.
Director Green,
Aye.
Director Burton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Let's see, my name was not called. I'm sorry. Am I not
I'm
present?
so sorry. I didn't
I'm
see you come in. Let me mark you
present.
as, yeah, let me mark you as present, Director Clark. And let me call that vote one more time. Director Hannon,
Aye.
Director Watson,
Aye.
Director Hatcher,
Aye.
Director Green,
Aye.
Director Burton.
Aye.
I'll call Director Anderson in case he's here. Director Anderson, Director Clark.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes.
Our first resolution is 5.6.1.1. A resolution approving applications and authorizing the board chair to execute a Does anyone
So is there
have
any-
any questions?
The last part of the reading of that resolution, this is Nolanda Hatcher speaking. The audio went out. Was that just for me or was that for everyone?
It was for me too.
Okay.
I apologize. I'll repeat that. Resolution 5.6.21.1. A resolution approving applications and authorizing board chair to execute agreements with applicants for the lot lease program.
So any discussion?
I just have one quick question. Are these adopt a lot or side lot programs?
Chelsea answer that question?
So a lot of these, we kind of, let's see, I'm trying to remember exactly which one they were. A lot of times, when we first look at it, we'll say whether it is a side lot or adopt a lot, but there really isn't a distinction for real anymore. We just kind of look at it to see if it's still in their neighborhood and if it's beside them, or if it's not, then for some good reason why that they're doing it. But I believe all of these people, they do live either next door to it or it's on their same street that they do live and occupy their home on.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Director
So is there a resolution to approve?
A motion to approve.
Aye.
I'll second.
Can we have a vote?
Yes. Director Hannon,
Aye.
Director Watson,
Aye.
Director Watson, Director Hatcher,
Aye.
Director Green,
Aye.
Director Burton, Director Burton,
Aye.
Director Anderson, Director Clark.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Our next resolution is 5.6.2. 6.21.2, resolution approving applications and authorizing board chair to execute agreements with applicants for the Quiet Title Program.
Is there any discussion?
I have a discussion. I have a question. A couple questions. There's a couple folks on here that I feel like I recognize that they've been on our list before. The first one is O2 LLC. They're all rental properties. Have we ever cleared title for them before?
So those properties do not have a clear title. And you're right, this has come before the board previously. And so we're bringing it back so that we can get an answer one way or the other. Should we move forward with these properties or not?
What was does anyone remember what our discussion was before? Like, did we vote on it, or did we make a decision to take it off for some reason? Or does anyone remind me what happened with those properties in the past?
I want to say, Director Burton, that it was tabled. I really don't remember. Eric, he knows all this stuff. And I really don't remember.
Okay, well, I'll come back to that. Rising Tide, I know that,
Well, hold
I feel like I remember that was
Director Burton, I think we need to go ahead and finish this particular piece before we move to your next question.
okay, does anybody else remember what happened with the O2 properties? I feel like I remember there being a
So I would say if it was tabled for a reason and we were waiting additional information, then if you're going to bring it back before us, we probably need that information. So we're going to need to figure out what that is. I'll feel there's a reason why this coming back a second time, and so we need to know, what that was and kind of the resolution on that, so we can move forward. That's kind of my thought.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So Eric is expected back next week, but I'll be glad to write down any questions you all have so that I can ask him about that.
Okay.
Director,
So in terms of disposition of this resolution, do we just, there may be other questions from other members moving forward, but do we table the whole resolution, or can something be approved
I wouldn't
without
table the whole
approving it? Oh,
resolution.
okay, all right. I was just asking for.
I wouldn't.
Okay, all right.
Well, I have a process question, if I may.
Sure.
So I kind of feel the same way as Director Burton. Like, I see some names I've seen before, and I don't know if these are the same properties or different properties, but I am wondering, once we authorize you to proceed with whatever transaction it is or program you're processing these applications for, if you go back, and I just feel like there's no reconciliation. Like, if we approve this batch and then you go back and half of these people are like, oops, I changed my mind, I don't want to go forward with this, then I don't know that there's any, what happens to them? They just go back into, as the pool for other applicants to then apply for them.
yes.
Okay. So I guess we don't get a feedback loop. So some of these things we see over and over again, maybe they didn't move forward with other projects.
And they have, O2 has purchased from us previously. I think it might be 1 or 2 properties, but I can research that and have this ready for the next board meeting if you all decide to table it.
Yeah, it's up to the board. If you do decide to table it, we do need a resolution, or we do need we have to bring that before the board. So is there a resolution to table it or accept it for today?
Before we make a motion, maybe we should finish asking questions about this. That way we can, if we can make sure to only have one motion instead of have multiple motions that we have to.
Right. Well, please proceed.
Okay. Well, before I ask any of my questions, I definitely, Director Watson definitely brought up making sure to give space to anyone else who has questions about O2. Does anyone have any other questions about that?
Well, I guess one of my questions is generally if these are entities that are regularly doing business with the land bank, you all make these recommendations with some confidence that these people can perform and do what they say they're going to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There was a reason why we did not proceed with O2 Rising Tide. And like I say, I really don't remember that reason, but if you would like, we can take those off.
Yes.
Mhm.
And Ms. Burrow,
Research it.
were there other applicants that you had concerns about on the list besides the 2 you just mentioned?
So I'm gonna give that over to Elliot. He does our applications for quiet title.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, everyone. So these are some of the oldest applications that we had that were still pending board approval. It seems like some of these had been tabled in the past, as Ms. Burl explained, for reasons that I'm not entirely sure about. They are quite old applications. Some of these go back several months. Because we are attempting to clear out some of these backlogged applications, they were reviewed for the efficacy of the application substance, their development plan, basically the same review that any application goes through. It only has to meet a certain standard before it can qualify to be approved by the board. Again, these applications, their ultimate approval is your discretion, but for some of these that the board may have had concerns about, previous things from the last year or excuse me, from months before, that is certainly something that, as Joanne explained, we can try to find out from Eric when he returns, or see if there's anything else that may provide more information about why those applications were initially tabled when they were first presented.
Mr. Chairman, if I can ask Elliot to just expand on that a bit. Elliot, can you give the board an idea, maybe month and year, when these applications were submitted? We're talking O2, LLC, and Rising Tide, so they can at least have an idea when they came before the board.
Gladly, yes. Thank you, Caroline. So I do know, just because I looked when this resolution was put forth, the applications from O2 were submitted in January of 2020. They have been in a pending review state since then. Again, that's January.
When did they come before the board, though?
Director Burton, I do not know.
By the board.
Right. I do not know. I would imagine that because if you followed our typical application process, I would imagine that they would have come to the board sometime in either February or March. These again were just backlogged applications that, for whatever reason, seems to have been tabled and were never addressed after that.
Well, I definitely, whether it's March or whether it was June, I definitely don't want us to just kind of sit on these. I agree that we need to make a decision. So maybe we can touch base with Eric, as soon as he returns, be able to figure out what the issues were last time, figure out if there's anything we need to do to be able to remedy whatever our concerns were. And that way we can, and be able to have a presentation about it at our next meeting so we can address it once and for all. Would that be something that would be possible?
Yes, so I would like to make a motion that we remove the properties for applicants O2 LLC and Rising Tide /SOZF, I guess that's an I1, until we have a better understanding of the issues with the applicant, but approve the remaining applicants from 5698, applicant number, through the rest of the exhibit.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I don't mind seconding, but I do have a question. Are there any others like that on this list?
For that question, so I want to be clear about something with this list. Chelsea, I believe we have an additional slide of these quiet title applicants. So the ones you see here are not even all of the ones. Yes, thank you, Chelsea. So we have at least 2 slides worth of these. As I mentioned, spent quite a bit of time going through some of these, older applications. Many of these are within the normal 30-day applicant cycle. Not all of them, and I would say the vast majority of them, came in, on a normal type of cycle that we were addressing as we would from board meeting to board meeting. I believe that the O2 and the Rising Tide SOZF 1, however it's pronounced, are the only ones that were as old as the, January 1st, 2020 type, that age of things.
Great. Second motion.
If I may jump in too, I don't know if you all see the asterisk at the bottom of that second slide, but that's
Yes.
that property that we withheld, we delayed last board meeting. So we brought it back before you all as well.
I know that Miss Adrienne Reynolds and the applicant had at least touched base on some level, because I understand Ms. Burrell made sure that that happened. And I know I had the tiniest bit of communication with the applicant, because he had wanted to reach out to ask a question. I know that Ms. Reynolds never responded when I asked, but are y'all, as far as you're aware, they touched base and everything's okay?
Yes, they did.
I'm sorry?
Yes, they did touch base. And Mrs. Reynolds, I spoke with her, and she is okay with his plan.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Burrow. I really appreciate your work and you. Chelsea, I guess I have a question, just my last question, or Ms. Burrell or Ms. Douglas, or do we have any information on Alvin Binns or Wallace Rutledge? I'm just asking about the folks who are like applying, because there was 4 applicants on here for requesting like 4 to 6 lots, all for just rental. And I was just hoping for some more information about them. Have they ever purchased from us before or anything?
Mr. Benz has purchased from us in the past. I'm not sure about Mr. Rutledge. Do you know, Elliot? I'll look it up real quick.
Yes, so I just looked. It doesn't look like Mr. Rutledge has purchased from us in the past. He does have these applications in. I will say, kind of speaking to my previous point, these applicants only have to meet, a certain qualification to be able to pass approval. We certainly value, owner occupancy above rentals as far as our kind of decision matrix goes when, deciding which ones make it through the review process. For these that are rentals, the application was good enough to pass through the review process, and we did not have any other applications that would have been owner occupants. So all the applications for those properties were rentals.
Okay, so Mr. Rutledge has not purchased from us, but you said Mr. Binns has. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Was it for rental properties in the past, or was it for something else?
It was for rental.
And if we had any experience on, their ability to follow through, or have any information about how all that's going, or anything else?
So Elliot, he does the compliance, and he can answer that question.
So at this time, we don't have any reason to believe that Mr. Benz has not been complying with the terms of his contract, that we have not had any complaints, nor has Inspector Richardson, seen that property that anything is out of the ordinary that he has purchased from us.
Okay. Have either Mr. Rutledge or Mr. Binns spoken to the neighborhood association or any other neighborhood-based entity? I ask
Unless
these
they
look like they're all together in the same area.
Unless they put that information in their application, no. But if that's a requirement, then we can make that adjustment when we redo applications.
I know that in the past, the board has talked about meeting with Miss Alice Williams about making sure that that's a part of our application process. Have we made any progress on that? I know that we had concerns that it slowed down because of the pandemic. So I get that. I know that that had slowed down our process there. So I do want to flag that. I understand that was an issue, but do you know if anything about that?
I do not know, but when Eric gets back, we'll be sure to ask him about that.
Now, Director Burton, we don't have to wait till Eric gets back. If that is something that the board decided to move forward on, I can definitely follow up on that.
Okay. That might be, I don't know if that needs to be probably a separate motion, like a different resolution, but I'm happy to make that motion to add that to the application process if that needs to happen. Specifically for larger applications, not for somebody purchasing one or two, but
right.
For yeah.
I would think you would bring that one back.
That's all my questions.
Under new business.
I agree with that. I agree with that, Mr. Dr. Watson.
I think most people gave in, I second it, so.
All right, if there's no more discussion, no further discussion on Director Hatcher's motion, we can go ahead and bring it to a vote.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote, I'm sorry, before we vote, I just want to make sure, and Elliot, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you stating to the board that the only applications that were withheld from being approved previously are those that were discussed on the first slide and none others?
I think he added the one on the 5726.
Okay. And Elliot, can you confirm that?
Let me take one look here. I have eProperty pulled up. I just want to be certain about this. I feel like it's important that we get these dates correct. There are 26 applications here that were submitted in the year 2020 that we are addressing at this board meeting now. They are I have them sorted alphabetically here in front of me, but we do have 26 applications that were submitted in 2020.
And those are applications that were not approved, but were pending?
That's correct. Part of the process to try to address some of these backlogged applications was taking applications whose statuses were either board approval, pending, under review, submitted, however they're listed in our system. It seems like some of these were tabled and then again, for whatever reason, were not brought back to the attention of the board. I wanted to try to get these addressed in this board meeting. However, if we do need some more information about them, you know, I would ask that the board use their discretion about removing them, and I'm glad to provide as much information as may be needed to know which of these are older applications that have been tabled for whatever reason, and the ones that have come in a normal, what I would consider a normal application cycle, and just, you know, like the past couple months.
So those that are being tabled then are O2 LLC, Rising Tide, and application number 5726?
Those were the, my motion only included O2 LLC and Rising Tide.
I believe we squared away that 5726, the applicant had met with the neighborhood. And so I thought that was properly back before us because we tabled it for that reason, I think.
Okay, good. Okay.
Right. And so, Elliot, that would be helpful. And I do think what the board is requesting is just some distinction in terms of the O2 properties and the Rising Tide as to why they were tabled. So most of us on the board joined after these applications were tabled. Like, so I think it'll be just helpful for us who are new, which is, you know, constitutes most of the board, as, you know, a simple explanation as to why they were tabled. So we'll be educated on how to go forward. That's not something that we have to wait for Eric for. I mean, we can get that done, I think, pretty economically. And so, thank you, Elliot. I think at this point we can go ahead and take Director Hatcher's motion for a vote. And I think we do have a second on the floor as well. So
is it
let's go
possible
ahead
for me
and
to
carry
make
this
one amendment to the vote? One amendment to the motion?
Director Burton.
I was just wondering if I could amend the motion.
Yes, please. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. My amendment was just to include that any applicant that has 4 or more rental properties, so that would simply add just two more folks onto it, the Alvin Benz and Wallace Rutledge. And my rationale is to get also about getting more information about them, as well as to include, you know, how the applicants have previously done, as well as the question about whether or not they've talked with the neighborhood association.
Elliot, does the Alvin Benz properties, do they extend back to early 2020 as well?
Thank you for your patience. It looks like Mr. Benz applied for those properties in January of 2021. So
Okay.
5 months ago.
So these are fairly recent. So I don't think we can amend Director Hatch. I don't think you can amend Director Hatch's.
Yeah, not without my permission. And
Right.
Because I'm new to this process, and I think one of the goals of quiet entitled to these properties is not to prolong these applications. And I think it is unfair to these applicants to have submitted under certain rules, and then we don't consider their applications. So I would like to proceed with my motion as originally presented. And if we want to develop some other application requirements at a future time, I'm willing to entertain those.
All right. So let's bring this to a vote. This is Director Hatcher's motion that was seconded by Director Watson.
All right, Director Hannah,
Aye.
Director Watson,
Aye.
Director Hatch,
Aye.
Director Green,
Aye.
Director Burton,
Abstain?
Director Anderson, Director Clark.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Okay. And
I would just like
I
to
would,
make an additional comment that, just for the staff to understand, anytime there's multiple rentals in one location that comes before the board, we're gonna need more details about those organizational entities and why. Because what we don't want to do is facilitate a rental district in communities because they don't necessarily sustain communities or help communities grow.
Right.
So
so,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
And
I think that's a business.
Lloyd, I also agree with that.
I do too. I do think that the point that that Director Hatcher brought up about changing the rules after the applications, I just think we have to be careful with that. But I think what Director Burton brought up
Is it important consideration? I
yeah,
agree.
it's a policy move we need to consider, that, so that they can be held accountable to the neighborhood that they are proposing to rent so many houses in. And I think that, rental is better than vacant,
Yeah, and
of course, but
yeah, I agree with that. Rental is better than vacant, and I understand the concerns with so many rentals to one individual. I agree with that, and I do think we need to look at our policies and our application requirements and the procedures for it that applicants have to go through for these properties to go through the program is important in a way that we can control the applicants' motives for quiet and title on these properties to be something that is community builders as opposed to something that just further deteriorates the community.
Right. Director Burton, would you consider composing a formal resolution that speaks to the concerns of the board in this regard?
As in to vote on today or to vote on next month?
I think something like this, and as Director Clark did articulate, I think we want to be a little bit more strategic in terms of how we put this together, because we don't want to totally eliminate rentals, but we certainly want to prioritize home buyers. And I think that there's some policy nuance that may require some time.
Yeah, and maybe I think staff involvement in coming up with those policy considerations is important. So maybe it's important for us to establish a committee to work with staff on that.
So we have a committee. I think one problem that we've had during the pandemic is my understanding of our legal situation is there's restrictions on us being able to hold committee because we tried to do that a couple months ago and we ended up just having to call an entire special call meeting of the full board. Is there a way for us to get some legal clarity? Are we allowed to hold our committees?
Jim, if you're on the line, can you address that?
Yeah, I think the question would be there could be some concern with holding committee meetings virtually under the restraints of the governor's order, but there's nothing that would prevent you from having a committee with an in-person meeting.
What's the legal difference between the city council holding their committees and us holding our committees? Because I know that they do host theirs virtually. What are the legal differences there?
I've got my own opinion about the city council.
Okay.
You know, the thing with committees is though there's no official action taken. So any problem with the open meetings come out of committee is going to be as far as the entity is concerned, it's not going to be a significant concern.
You're saying it is a concern if they don't vote, or it's not a concern if they don't vote?
Whether they vote or not, the committee can't take action that's official action of the board.
Of course, right.
That's, you know, what are the consequences of taking action in a meeting that's not in compliance with meetings is the action is subject to collateral attack as being invalid.
Well, what does the board want to do? Do we want to follow the precedent set by the city council and hold virtual committee meetings? Or would folks prefer just having the board chair of special projects work with staff in order to avoid committee meetings?
Yeah, I think the latter is a good idea. And, you know, there's nothing to say that the resolution that you all create cannot be emailed out for review.
Right.
Right.
One just, I agree with you. One just statement is we can email it out, but there can't be communication between board members via email. So we can send it out and we'll just have to have the discussion of it. I mean, people can contact staff about it, but we just can't, as board members, talk individually. So we would just have to hold off on discussion until the board meeting. Does that sound good to board members?
I mean, that sounds good to me.
Okay. So Ms. Douglas, Ms. Burrell, Ms. Chelsea, and then we can contact Ms. Alice Williams. I can email y'all later today and when we can try and schedule a meeting to work through this for next meeting. Does
Okay, sounds good.
And
does that mean that we're going to hold off on processing any more applications that would follow this until that between now and next month? You know, that are like multiple any applicant that say has 4 more applications, any 4 more property.
Director Burton, I would think that this could only apply to new applications we receive after the board passes whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my thought on, you know, fairness to the applicants. If we didn't have a rule already in place that would limit the number of applications someone can make in an area, because on the one hand, you know, when you're renovating, you want to cluster for impact and to be able to secure your sites while you're working on them and so forth. And so there is a revitalization benefit to clustering, you know, it's complicated, you know, because, but I think if we're thoughtful about the new policy that you're helping us develop, I think we can, it would apply to applications that come in after the board votes. I don't think we can retroactive unless somebody says that's okay to do. Somebody legal, I don't know that it would be okay to do.
And
No,
may
I think we should proceed as we have been until the board votes on whatever resolution that you bring, Director Burton.
Okay. Are our applications currently open, or are they currently closed?
Open?
They're open.
Yes.
Do we want to put some kind of a 30-day moratorium on that, and so that way we can make sure that all new applicants follow our new policy that we'll vote on next month?
No, I think there is a process, and you know, I think that it was deemed fair at one point, so I don't think we need to consider a moratorium on our current program.
I mean, moratorium might not be the right word. Just like we often temporarily have the application process closed to handle administrative things. And that way we could make sure that any new applicants would be following this new application process.
As a new board member, I would just like to see the trend of applications that we're receiving. And I think putting a moratorium on receiving applications would just hinder that.
What kind of trend are you looking for or concerned about?
Something that I can consider from board meeting to board meeting to board meeting. And if you put a moratorium on the applications, then there'll be a board meeting where no applications will be considered.
Hey, Director Burton, I'm not sure if you looked at the full agenda, but the last item on our agenda is a resolution putting a temporary pause in the acceptance of new applications. So I think the agenda will accomplish what you're wanting and give you time to come up with some revised language that can be incorporated into the application process.
I appreciate you pointing that out. I did miss that on the agenda. So I guess we'll just talk about it then. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Burrow, we can go ahead and proceed with the agenda.
Okay. Yes, sir. And is it okay for me to say a few things?
Oh, sure.
Okay, thank you. And so Eric is expected back on Monday, the 10th. And that was why I was suggesting that we wait till then to ask him the questions about some things that I'm not sure about. But I totally understand that we need to move forward with the process. But I just wanted y'all to know that that's why I said we can wait till Eric gets back, because he's expected back on Monday. Also, we're going to try to do a better job at getting the agenda to you all, the agenda items to you at least a week before, so that you all will have a chance to read through the items. And I don't know if you can ask the staff questions ahead of time before the board meeting, but we'll gladly answer any questions that you have if that's allowable. And also we want to, yes, sir. And we want to revamp applications. And so adding in something that says that they need to talk to the neighborhood president or the neighborhood officers. That's definitely something that we can add in to our applications. We do suggest that to them, but it is not currently is not a requirement.
And to Ms. Jones' point, I just wanted to add, there is very little personal discretion that goes into reviewing these applications. It is based on a series of approval steps, and to the point that has been discussed these last couple of minutes, there is nothing that gives discretion on rejecting an application because they have several applications. That is not something that, out of fairness to all the applicants, when we're looking at these, we cannot say, oh, well, he has 6, so we're just going to reject 4 of them because that's too many. So if we would like to work in some language in the future about, maximum number of applications, anything like that, I welcome any feedback as we are constantly trying to improve the application process for applicants and also for staff here at the Land Bank.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott.
Okay, our next resolution is 5.6.21.3. A resolution approving applications authorizing board chair to execute agreement with applicants for the immediate acquisition program. Does anyone have any questions about immediate acquisition?
All right.
Just one question. It seems like Rising Tide is on here, which we just discussed. So I guess that's my only question. I mean, do we have any information there or thoughts there?
So I can speak to some of that. For instance, I know for application number 5548, that was the only applicant that we had for that particular property. Based on the criteria that we review when we receive these applications, their application was sufficient enough to pass the initial review stage. Because there was no other applicants, it didn't warrant being rejected simply because they have multiple applications in.
Okay.
Right.
And I would like to add that immediate acquisition are properties that other applicants asked us to get for them, and then they didn't follow through. And so these are properties that we're trying to sell. And a lot of times there are no other applicants other than what we have sometimes.
Right.
Thank you. Is there? This is Brad. On the columns for purchase offer amount that say minimum bid, is that number something that the staff set, or can somebody explain what the minimum bid language is?
Yes, sir. And so for all of these properties, we paid at least $5,000 in attorney's fees. And so for us to recoup that, we're charging that. And if it warrants, maybe just a little more. So some might be $5,500, some $6,000 for the minimum bid. The other bids are what the applicant actually bid.
Okay, great.
The minimum bid is what, yes, sir. That's what we'll accept.
I'd like to motion to approve with the amendment of taking off Rising Tide until we address our other concerns about their applications.
I'll second that.
All right. Can we have a vote on this motion?
All right, Dr. Hannon. Dr. Hannon, what is your vote?
I'm sorry. Aye.
It's okay. Dr. Watson.
Aye.
Director Watson. Director Hatcher.
Aye.
Director Green.
Aye.
Director Burton.
Aye.
Director Anderson. And Director Clark.
I'm actually here for a moment while I'm traveling, so yes.
Sorry, Director Clark, what is your vote?
It is yes.
Okay, that motion passes.
So I do have a really quick question, Ms. Burrow. So I do notice here that that there is no competition for these properties. Am I correct? These are just people these are properties that no one else wanted, or they belong to someone else, or somebody else did want them but no longer wants them. And so these are properties that essentially, just in economic language, there's no demand for them or competition for them.
Sometimes there is competition, like 121 Lawson Road. It's in the it's on the east side in the prominent area, a well-traveled area. And there were other applications, but this person was the best one.
Right. Okay. So that's exactly what I was asking. So, in terms of the market condition, there is a market element to all of this.
Yes, that's correct. And I would add, with specific regard to the Lawson Road property, we had lots of applications for. There was a very high level of interest in that property. Mr. Cope was the only individual who indicated that he wished to actually own or occupy it. All the others were, renters or, people who did not want to live there after purchasing.
Oh, okay. I got you. So we can either these properties do have the opportunity to be in an auction situation, or we could use a little bit of more of our knowledge of the market to set the prices on these.
Yes.
Okay.
And they go through the same review process as all the others. Again, where we value owner occupancy over rentals or the renovations.
All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Burrow.
Resolution 5.6.21.4. A resolution authorizing a request to the Land Commissioner for the transfer of the state's interest of 45 tax delinquent properties located in the corporate limits of the city of Birmingham to the Birmingham Land Bank Authority.
Any discussion?
Normally we usually are doing this from like a strategic position of getting tax deeds. But it seems like there's a large, some of these are for various reasons. Would somebody just be able to let me know why we're requesting these? Are they quite, just in general?
So we're requesting a lot of these properties, well, pretty much all of these properties for lot lease or quiet title programs. So these are us requesting the actual tax deeds to go along with the application that you all just approved of. Some of these are deeds that we are re-requesting because the application, you all approved of the applications, and we sent off the request letter to the Alabama Department of Revenue, but we did not receive the tax deed. So some of these are re-requests, but a lot of these are, and I believe all of them are for ones that have been approved for the quiet title program or for the lot lease program.
Okay, so these are 4 properties that we voted on today, or at least, or in some cases, maybe considered today, not for general strategic acquisition of tax deeds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The item.
So is there a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
I'll second. This is Carol Clark.
All right, so vote.
Right? Director Hannon,
Aye.
Director Watson,
Aye.
Director Hatcher,
Aye.
Director Green,
Aye.
Director Burton,
Aye.
Director Anderson, and Director Clark.
Aye.
Right, that motion passes.
Our next resolution is 5.6.21.5. Resolution denying applications number 5785, 5840, and 5841 pursuant to information demonstrating that the real properties requested are current. Anyone?
Just to
Any
know about this, oh, go ahead, Ms. Burrell.
Go ahead.
Just a note about this to the board members, these 3 properties were approved last month on our previous agenda. But Inspector Richardson visited these locations and determined that these are already occupied. I know it's not the practice of the Land Bank Authority, and it's not a policy either, to acquire lots that are presently occupied. We've got some now that we're dealing with that have been an issue previously. And I don't think that this is what we want to do going forward. That's why this is brought back before you. And if you have any questions about how we know they're occupied, Mr. Richardson's on the line and he's available to answer any questions. I just wanted to give a little context to why this is before you.
I would like to hear this. I would like to hear the circumstances for how do we acquire properties that are occupied, and are the occupants authorized?
And so when we get a tax deed, we don't know if the property is occupied or not. We only recently got Inspector Richardson earlier this year. He started working with us. So in the past, we've been getting tax deeds blind, and we don't know that someone is living there.
Mm-hmm.
So once we find out someone is living there, we don't make contact with them, to see what the situation is. Either we're going to move forward with a quiet title to force them to pay the back taxes, or we're going to stand down if we already have the tax deed.
So we don't know why, like, are these squatters, or, I mean, are the homes being rented, or we don't have a good idea of the circumstances of the occupancy?
So when Inspector Richardson, when he goes to the location, he's looking for signs of life. If there's a meter, an electric meter, a water meter, things like that, to see if someone is, to determine whether they're squatting or if they're actually living there. But he can tell you more about these 3 in particular.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Richardson.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. I'll head you on mute.
That's okay.
Uh, I'm using my phone. I apologize. Let me get to where I can see which addresses they are. Because again, I'm on my telephone.
Mr. Richardson, if this helps, we're starting with 1436 5th Street North.
Okay. That situation, I think that's one that we're probably going to end up needing to not acquire the title. It was a young lady that was going to redeem, but we have not talked back with her. But at one point, she did call the office and was from the sign in the yard. It was immediate response to it. And they had utilities on, and it looked like a home. Now the one 1117 15th Place Southwest, it's a meter in there, but I could not tell if the power was actually on. The power company have started leaving meters in, even though because they can cut it off from the satellite. So they don't always remove the meter just in the event that the service is not on. But it's definitely activity there. Now, I didn't see anyone coming in and out of the house, but the yard was cut and there's 2 cars at the property. And
So there's
the
a
one
good
11, 12,
possibility.
15, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Thank you. Sorry.
And the 11, 12, 15th Street Southwest, that looks like somebody's home house. It was nice. They had the screen door open. The front door open, just letting the air flow. They had a little garden in the back. It was a nice home.
All right, that's thank you, Mr. Richardson. That is very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
So with that information, Director Burton, you were going to say something?
I was just going to make a passing comment that it's possible that 1117, that if they did have their power off, that it could be a temporary thing, because I know a lot of are temporarily getting cut off from power as a result of the pandemic. That's why we recently got the new programs about helping people with rent and utilities. That's all.
Right. Well, I think we have a lot of clarity in this situation here. And if I'm not mistaken, these homes ended up on the tax delinquent rolls, and we may have mistakenly assumed that we could get access to these even though the homes were occupied. And so am I correct in that assumption, Ms. Burrow?
And so they are tax delinquent, but we have not requested the deed.
Okay. Okay.
So just the tax delinquency alone makes them eligible for our program, and that's why we have an application for it. But
Right,
we have not requested the deed.
Right, I see. All right, is there a motion to approve resolution 5.6.21.5?
I'll motion to approve resolution number 5.6.21.5.
I'll second that. But for discussion purposes, what happens with these properties now? I know you with 1436 Fifth Avenue. You stated that the property, I'm going to say owner or occupier, had been in touch and she had planned on bringing her taxes current. But what about the other 2 properties? What happens with those?
So because
Since they're still tax delinquent, I'm sorry.
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So
Mhm.
there's going to be some discussion about that. Direct Douglas is going to bring that up. We do come across cases like this where even though we don't have the tax deed, it might be a renter or a owner. They might reach out to us to ask us if we can help them. And so we need more guidance so that we'll know what we can and can't do.
Okay.
And to follow up on what Ms. Burrell said, and just reiterating what she previously mentioned, for these 3 properties, the land bank has not requested the tax deed, so the tax deed remains with the state, and it's up to the property owner to satisfy their delinquency.
Okay.
All right. Is there a vote?
Ready for the vote? Director Hannon?
Aye.
Director Watson?
Aye.
Director Hatcher?
Aye.
Director Green?
Aye.
Director Burton?
Aye.
Director Anderson? And Director Clark? Director Clark? Okay, that motion passes.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Burrow.
Resolution 5.6.21.6. A resolution approving the repurchase, application, and sale of property located at 9057 Beverly Drive, Birmingham, Alabama, 35206, and authorizing board chair to execute all documents and instruments required to finalize the repurchase and sale. So I can give you context about that one because I messed up on this
Okay.
one. Mrs. Lowe is the applicant for 9057 Beverly Drive. I want to say she's application number 1. So we started this process in 2016. Somehow I closed her application, put her property up for immediate acquisition, and someone subsequently purchased it. When she found, now I didn't know that this happened until this year. When she came and told me about it and I researched it more, I reached out to the new buyer and told him the situation. And he very graciously agreed to sell the property back to us so that we can sell it to Mrs. Lowe.
Yes. So thank you so much, Ms. Burrow. Is there any discussion?
I move that we approve the repurchase and the sale of property.
I second, or was there a second before mine?
I think it was Director Watson.
Okay, all right. We'll go with Director Watson second.
And just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, before we call for the vote, Ms. Burrell, this application was already approved by the board, correct? Okay, so this is a motion to approve the repurchase and the sale. All right, Mr. Chairman, are we ready for the vote?
If I may, this is Brad Green. Has the legal, have our lawyers looked at this? I just now that we're transferring the property back to this lady, I just don't want to get us in a position where she makes a bunch of improvements and then there's a question as to who actually technically owns it, and I just don't want us to continue to dig a hole. So I just wanted to make sure that the lawyers have reviewed this and they're okay with what we're doing here.
I've discussed the details with Jim Stanley and Ben Goldman. Now, the documents that support what's in the resolution, they have not reviewed those. But from the information received from Ms. Burrell, that was an email, as well as the documents I reviewed, show that what's going to happen is that if the board approves it, the land bank will purchase it back from Mr. Finley. And then there's a simultaneous conveyance to Ms. Peggy Lowe. That will also be pursuant to her maintenance and development plan. Jim and Ben, if you're on the
Director
line
Green,
and you want to comment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Director, you could think about the first part is really a market acquisition, if you will. It's just if the land bank were just going into the open market and buying the property. Yes, they got it from the land bank, but they do have clear title to it. So they've asked for this particular price, and it's before the board to approve the price. The second part of the transaction would be put us in the same position we'd be as if the original application had gone through. Now it's time to convey title to them, and they're responsible for carrying out the responsibilities in their development plan.
Did they provide any documentation supporting their asking price of over $10,000?
They did. They submitted contracts with their realtor, contracts with their attorney, because the applicant was Mark Finley. I believe he conveyed that to E3 Acquisitions. The only cost that was not supported were let me see, it was the taxes, capital gains taxes.
That's okay. I just would make a comment. You may just want to hold on to some of that documentation that you got from them. Put it in the file.
Absolutely.
I'm good. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right. If there's no further discussion, I think we could proceed with the vote.
Okay, Director Hannon.
Aye.
Director Watson.
Aye.
Director Hatcher.
Aye.
Director Green.
Aye.
Director Burton.
Aye.
Director Anderson. And I received a note from Director Clark in the chat. She had to leave for an offsite meeting. All right, that motion passes.
Thank y'all so much for that. There's been a lot of sleepless nights crying between me and Mrs. Lowe about this whole situation. So thank y'all for that. The next resolution is 5.6.21.7. Resolution approving a temporary pause in the acceptance of new applications for Birmingham Land Bank Authority programming.
I'd like to say just a few words, Mr. Chairman, if that's fine, just to provide some context. And then Ms. Burrell will follow me with any additional details and comments. So as you all know, the Land Bank Office is a small team, but they handle so much for the land bank. We're responsible for the administration of the programs and also every aspect of its operations. That means that the lot lease program, the quiet title program, strategic acquisitions, and immediate acquisitions are all managed by the staff, but that also includes many other details embedded in those processes. Some of those processes need to change. The conversation that took place earlier was really timely about the application that we can change and tighten up. We also have projects that I was brought aware of that have not yet been completed, tasks that really need to be carried through. And with the successful amendment to the Land Bank Act that shortens the amount of time that a property has to be held by the state from 5 years to 3 years. The demand right now is good, When that time frame shortens and it makes properties that are 3 years tax delinquent eligible for our programming, we want to be sure to be in the right position and have the capacity to handle the additional demand. What all that means is our office needs some time to shore up some of the things that we have yet to do. These are projects that were longstanding that need to be done, some tasks that need to be taken care of. We have, I believe, cleared out the application backlog that had existed. And this is going to put us in the best position to make the updates that we need to make. Now, Ms. Burrell gave me some data because we needed to be able to support this ask. And let me be clear about this. I know the application process, just as Director Burton mentioned, has been paused before. What we want to do this time is give you very specific things that we want to do so that when that pause is over, we can report back and let you know what we were able to do during that time. These things that need to be done involve the lot program, immediate strategic general requests, but it also includes different initiatives that we're working on. A lot of those I'm going to mention under new business, but as for now, I just want to give you that context. So it's not for any other reason than to catch up on what needs to be done, make sure we're in a position to receive the new demands that are coming, and that's a good thing for the land bank. And then also give our staff the ability to really focus on what needs to be done. So Ms. Burrell, I'd like you to give some additional details from what you've given me that'll give the board an idea of how much work we actually need to get done during this time.
So we would like to improve on our immediate acquisition program by getting an appraiser, by getting Inspector Richardson to be able to go out and look at properties. He can give us an idea of how much the property is worth. We also want to improve on our quiet title application by adding the other things that the board wants to see in the application. Also, we get a lot of complaints that the application is complicated, so we want to just revamp it, make it simple, but still be able to get all of the information that we need. We don't want it so simple that all someone has to do is press a few buttons. We want them to know that purchasing property is serious. And we just want to be more transparent as to why we're asking the questions that we're asking. We also get a lot of calls about applications. And so we're thinking if we can revamp it, we've got to cut down on so many phone calls. We also need time to work on our closing processes, work on deeds. We currently have 2 young ladies helping us with the tax deeds that we've already received. They are going through the county's website to make sure that those deeds have been transferred to us properly. We want to update our data in each property. We have a lot of filing to do, making files, working with other departments, things like that.
And just so everyone's aware, we did not want to start this tomorrow or maybe pause the application Monday. Really, we want to give at least a week and let this pause start on May 17th and then reopen again on June 28th. Again, giving you our accomplishments, what we intend to do, so that we're in a better position on June 28th.
All right, is there any discussion?
The pause would not start until May 28th? Is that what you're saying?
May 17th.
May 17th.
Okay, and then what did May 28th represent?
June 28th represents the day we'll open it back up again.
June 28th. Okay, thank you for that
Yes.
clarity. What was the rationale for 11 days between now and
So
17th?
it would be so that anyone listening to us now or any applicant who wanted to get their application in can do that up until May 16th.
All right, is there any other discussion?
I mean, I would be interested in maybe starting the pause period, say on Monday. That way, instead of the 17th, this upcoming Monday, just so that way we can, make sure that new applicants, I would still give folks a couple of days to apply, but make sure that new applicants would be using our new application process that y'all said you wanted to work on. Is that something that would be a possibility, Ms. Douglas?
Yes, I think
What are
that's
your
perfectly
thoughts?
fine. It was really just to give, a little longer of a time frame for those who wanted to apply, but Monday will work.
And just to be clear, this is Ms. Burrell and Ms. Law and Elliot. This delay will be a benefit to you.
If I can speak, yes, I truly believe it will be a benefit to us. I think it'll help us with a lot of the backlog that we have, and it's not really just applications backlog, but it's just a lot of little things that turn into big things. You can have so many little projects that, it just kind of feels like you're drowning. And because I'm grateful that we do have 2 new additional staff. But, there's still a lot of work that is left to be done around the office. And, I know Mrs. Burrell, I help her a lot. And honestly, she needs an assistant. Because it is so much that she has to do for that quiet title program that I know when we accept new applications and we still have all these people that we've been working with for years that have not closed yet, all that is just adding on into that backlog of people having to close and going through a lot of those different processes. So I think that temporary pause is really going to help. Elliot can dive deeper into the compliance piece with actually, if he needs to go out there and figure out why these people aren't fixing up, or, some of the people who haven't responded yet, but we have success stories out there. It gives us that opportunity to actually go out there and showcase our success stories. And Mr. Richardson, with all of the properties that he has to go and look at, it's a lot to juggle, so many different lists that he has to look at. So I really think for all of us, it will benefit for that temporary pause to happen. I know the lot lease program needs to be revamped. There are some things that I think that we don't do now that will be beneficial later on in the future if we do start doing it. And a lot of too with our communication as well to the public. I think the temporary pause will help us actually be able to communicate better with the public, let them know, hey, we're not accepting applications, but we still have closings going on every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, that's going on. So letting them know we're not just sitting around with our feet up on the desk, twiddling our thumbs, happy that we're not accepting applications. I tell you, we're on this staggered schedule, and I can leave the office on Wednesday and I'll get back Monday and I have 44 missed phone calls from people. So my Mondays are usually filled with me just returning phone calls. So I really think this will help us a lot with getting a lot of things that needs to be done first, and then we can come back stronger with a better application. All of us can be refreshed and ready to actually give everybody that time to look at every single application. And when the board have questions, we have all of our papers prepared to be able to answer those. So yes,
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, Ms. Law, that's very helpful. So this comes across as a part in our progress
Absolutely.
resolution. Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
No, that's very helpful, and I know I can speak for the board, and anything that we can do to help facilitate what you all are doing, because obviously the land bank needs you to be as efficient as possible.
Mm.
And we all work together as a team, and you guys are a very, very essential component of that team. And so, is there any further discussion?
Dr. Hannon, just the dates then in the resolution will be changed if the
Right.
board agrees.
Right.
reflect-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep, just to reflect that the application queue will be paused on May 10th
Right.
and will open up on June 21st.
Okay. So we would just accept the resolution with the proposed amendment.
Ms. Douglas, you don't want to keep your Monday, June 28th date? It gives you a little bit more time.
If that is
I would
fine with the
recommend that.
board, absolutely. I backed it up just to stay within the time I was asking, but I'll take it. We'll keep it at the 28th, June 28th.
Very well.
Thank you.
I move that we approve resolution 5/6/21/7 as amended.
Second.
All right, I'll call for the vote. Director Hannon,
Aye.
Director Watson,
Aye.
Director Hatcher,
Aye.
Director Green,
Aye.
Director Burton,
Aye.
Director Anderson, Director Clark. That motion passes.
Thank you guys so much.
So much. All right. Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, can I move right into new business? I know we are running a little longer than we anticipated, but we were able to get a lot of good work done today.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So under new business, I want all of you to know that this staff is very talented. And Chelsea Law, who you just heard from, is our creative brain. She definitely is a very valuable part of this team, as all of them are. And she put together a recorded webinar that's going to be part of a series to address the frequently asked questions that the office always receives. You heard her tell you that it's not strange for her to get 37, even 39, I think is the highest number I heard, calls over a weekend that she personally responds to. So she's really aware of the questions that are asked over and over and over again. And she created an amazing recorded webinar, which will be one of a series to address those questions and to help the public understand what certain things mean. We're going to show you that quick clip so that you can see for yourself what she's created. This is going to be followed by a brief update from Mr. Earl Hilliard Jr. That's going to be followed by Mr. Stanley giving us a brief outlook on what our meetings will look like after July 6th, which is when our governor has stated that her state of emergency will end on July 6th. So he'll let us know what our meetings will look like after July 6th. And I'll also give you a few items that I am working on, initiatives that I'm working on with the team for the office and absolutely for the land bank. So let's take a look.
Okay, unfortunately, I didn't hear any sound. Did anybody else
didn't?
hear any sound?
I hear it on my end. Let me take a
Okay.
look. Did it play at least? Did you see it play?
Yeah, we saw it play. I
Okay,
was,
It
so if
was
you,
it was very choppy.
it
yeah,
was, let me see. Let me get it back. Let's try to do it one more time. Everyone turn up your individual volumes. Mine is turned up all the way. If you can't hear this, I will send this to you. I'll send this clip to you by email.
okay.
Let's try this one more time. Is it any better?
No, the volume's still not working on it, and it's still
Okay.
very choppy. Yeah.
Okay.
Someone
I will send
says,
it to each.
I'm sorry,
Say that
someone
again.
says you may need to use music mode.
Okay, let's take a look. If
So if
I
you
can't
go up
find
to
it quickly,
the top, go to audio and video at the top, and then click music mode, or you can do Control Shift M.
Control Shift.
Control Shift M.
Let's see. Control Shift and then M. Yeah, it doesn't do that.
If you
Well,
go up
here's
to
what
the
we'll do. Oh, go ahead, Chelsea.
if you go up to the top of WebEx file edit here, so go under audio and video and click mode.
Let me see. So this might, I'd have to exit out of here. Okay, let's see. Does the board want to see it now, or do you want me to email it to you? I don't want to eat up much of your time. What's your pleasure?
I say email, but
Okay. Okay, let's do that. I want you to get the full experience because unfortunately I'm looking at it in full, but it's not showing up for you that way.
Might I make one request if we're gonna just get it via email? Is when we post the video of this meeting on YouTube, since that video won't include this video, could we post a second video just kind of which gives, so the public can see this presentation that you put together?
Sure. Yeah, Chelsea, we can put this up on YouTube, right?
Yeah, so after the board meeting today, it was my intention to upload it onto our social media pages as well as YouTube.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right. Sorry, Chelsea. I know you worked hard on that, and each of them will be able to see that. Right. All right. Mr. Hilliard Jr., please give us our legislative update.
Good afternoon / evening to everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, the cat's out of the proverbial bag, and y'all already know because everybody's talked about it. But it's actually very positive news. Some legislation that benefits the land bank that the land bank has been trying to get for years passed a week ago. So on the 28th, that Senator Coleman Madison's SB 32, which is the one we've been talking about, the one that for our purposes, what really makes things better for us. It takes it from 5 years for reclamation till we can reclaim it at 3 years, or we can have access to that property 3 years, which is a major thing. So I'm glad you guys did all the necessary things so the land bank can be ready for that to go. So, kudos to obviously to the staff and everybody else who worked on it. The government affairs team, the Jones Group worked with Senator Coleman Madison to make sure that happened. I was in Montgomery. There were a lot of people, you board members were calling and telling people how important it was. Obviously, the ED and all the people who have been a part of this fight and the new people part of this fight have been so strong in championing it. So I just want to say that at the beginning of this year, I know everything's a little rocky, and we talked about what we talked about doing last year. But what's important is I said to y'all then, I said, listen, I said, you just trust. The mayor's put all his forces on it, and we're trying to get this done for you. And it was important, and we put it near the top of our legislative delegation. I mean, of our legislative agenda, and it happened. And that's what happens when everybody works together. And so I just want to say thank you for all of your support. We've done that now. We're having a very successful legislative year, and you'll hear more about that later. But just want to say kudos to everybody who's involved. It did pass, and it should mean great things for the land bank.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Earl. And I appreciate your hard work in this and the hard work from Intergovernmental Affairs and City Hall, Ms. Douglas, and, you know, certainly the land bank staff who put all of the chess pieces in place for this to be successful. And so several board members did, you know, make phone calls, and we did what we could as well. And so, I mean, this is a very joyous occasion, and this is a major milestone that, you know, has existed on our radar since the beginning of the year. And, you know, like you said, Director Hilliard, I mean, there were some obstacles, but I think most of us were confident that, you know, if we stayed true to the mission, that we would overcome those obstacles and be successful. And here we are. All right, so I want to thank, you know, all of the people that I thanked earlier again, and I'm looking forward to a lot more successes like this for the Birmingham Land Bank Authority.
Once again, whatever we can do, Ms. Douglas, we talk all the time. Anything you got, anything you need, just stay on me. We'll work on it.
Will do. I appreciate it. Earl, tell us one more thing. When does this go into effect, the amendment?
So it was sent to the governor. It was sent to the governor on Monday. So she has a few days. She has 10 days, 10 to 12 days to sign it. Doesn't matter if she doesn't. If she doesn't sign, they'll come back so that they can override anything they did. But she won't have any problem signing it. It'll go into effect actually on the first 3 months after, on the first day of the third month after she signs it. Okay. So if that looks like between either the first day of August or the first day of September. I got to look at the math on that, but it's the first day of the third month after she signs it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. We should be in better shape by then to be able to handle that demand. Thank you. All right. Mr. Stanley, can you give us a brief update on how the expiration of the governor's state of emergency proclamation affects our future board meetings?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Was there going to be time for the board to ask questions related to the legislation, or do we want to do that at a separate time since it's
so Director Burton, can we do that with it being 3:51 and we have one more agenda item? Can we hold questions for another time?
Absolutely. Mr. Hilliard, would you be okay with either yourself or somebody else coming to our June meeting so we can have a discussion?
Absolutely. I'll be back, and if I can't for some strange reason, then I'll have somebody else here, but I'll be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Burton. Mr. Stanley?
Yes. As you may recall, under Governor Ivey's state of emergency declared in March of 2020 related to the COVID pandemic, there was an early supplement to that declaration that allowed for governing bodies or public entities to have virtual meetings under certain limited circumstances. And that particular part of her orders has remained unchanged. Last, I believe it was the 3rd of May, the governor issued, I believe, the 27th supplement, and she indicated that the state of emergency would be set to end on July the 6th. So with the expiration of that state of emergency, the ability to meet virtually is expected to expire also. So we would, any meeting after July 6th would need to be an in-person meeting. And we want to think ahead about planning for that. There could well be still mask ordinance in the city of Birmingham. We probably still want to find locations where we can practice social distancing to the extent possible. But just wanted to make you aware that as of July 6th, that state of emergency that allows for these virtual meetings will be ending.
Thank you so much for giving us that update. Now, briefly, what I want the board to start thinking about and considering is that I will be planning a fiscal year 21 budget review with you. I want to go over the budget for fiscal year 21. I want you to see how monies have been spent. I want you to see what it is we have in reserve. Also, right behind that, we want to plan to have a fiscal year 22 budget planning session where you will look at the budget that was proposed, and we will have an opportunity to take a look at that, change it if we need to, understand it a lot better than it has been before. I am working with Director Green in the spreadsheet that I believe that was created a while back so that we can start giving the board monthly updates. I understand the board does have a budget committee, which I'm really excited about. When that committee is stood up and will meet regularly, I'm guessing that will be the core that will review these monthly budget submissions. But for now, plan to hear more about the fiscal year 21 budget review and the fiscal year 22 budget planning session. Also, just to let you know, we have been so fortunate to have Michelle Inman join our team from the mayor's office. Michelle supports the chief of operations, that's Chief Kevin Moore. And you heard Ms. Burrell mention that we've got 2 young ladies helping us. She is one of them. She's taken on a huge project and she's working on it. She's, I believe her project involves about 400 properties and she is very helpful. And as you know, I've mentioned before, I was able to hire an AmeriCorps Vista intern. Her name is Cara Clay, and she has done some really good work for us too. You mentioned, Ms. Burrell mentioned that earlier. The team right now, we're working on a master asset list. That's one of the things that we're missing. And I received a report with about 968 properties, which Mr. Richardson is going through one by one. He's going to inspect these properties and making sure that they are still owned by the land bank, or if they are sold or redeemed, we're marking that off the list. To date, we have 288 properties that he has inspected. This is going to become our master asset list, which will be added on to as we acquire additional properties. Something I want the board to think about and consider is with the more properties we acquire, the more properties we will need to maintain. The City of Birmingham's Department of Public Works has been very generous. They are including a lot of our lots in their lot maintenance, and they will cut those lots with the city-owned lots. But I think we've got an opportunity that I will tell you more about during our fiscal year 21 budget review session to take on some of that lot maintenance. Also, I'm working with the Office of Public Information. They have looked at all of our communications, our website, our social media platforms, and they've done an assessment. Because what we want, as Ms. Chelsea Law hinted to earlier, is to tell the story of the land bank. The land bank has many successes, but you don't hear people talking a lot about that. And we want to tell our own story. So we have an assessment that they've done, and we've got a communications plan we want to roll out. And we want to tell the story that the public doesn't hear yet. Because you might have heard it said before, either my application is taking long, which one of the staff members mentioned earlier, or you'll hear, well, the land bank isn't working. Well, I know and you know the land bank does work, and we want to change that narrative. Another thing we're working on with IMS is scanning a lot of our documents. This is one of the projects that Ms. Burrell may have mentioned or may not have mentioned, but we're going to get done. That's to digitize a lot of the documents we have in print. That way we can create more space in our office. Another thing is we are working on collaborating with the Department of Transportation for the city and getting no trespassing signs. Because right now we're working with the Department of Public Works to secure our abandoned and our vacant properties, like our homes that are on these lots. But we also need to enforce that by putting up our no trespassing signs. So what am I saying? In short, the land bank is collaborating with different city departments in a way that is beneficial. OPI, DPW, DOT, the mayor's office, we are getting help and we are getting that support that we need. So I look forward to continuing to work with the board and with the staff. You have a really great team here, and we're going to get a lot of good work done in the 7 weeks that you've given us to do that. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you so much for all of your hard work, Ms. Douglas. And we also appreciate your vision as well. All right. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I just had one question about the report. First of all, I just wanted to thank Ms. Douglas for all of that. That's all really great news. So I'm extremely happy to hear all those updates. When we do the budget and finance presentations, would you mind adding in a presentation about where we're at for the funding agreement?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, because I know you and I talked about that during our one-on-one. I have been in touch with Attorney Wright, who's working on that funding agreement, and I will have an update for you at that fiscal year 21 budget planning session.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
your work.
welcome. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
And
do we need to second the motion to adjourn?
You might want
Okay,
to.
well, do we have a second for that motion? Well, I'll second the motion to adjourn. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Goldman. All right, everyone have a great weekend.
Same to you.
Okay, bye-bye.